You're listening to the Catholic Family Podcast, Lent Around the World, daily meditations chosen and read by traditional Catholics from around the globe.
Continuing our reflections on the Passion by Father Charles Doyle, the Tuesday of Holy Week. It is strange how often a person who is too weak of character to do what he knows to be right will rack his brains for something to excuse him from doing his duty, and thus will seize upon the first thing which comes to mind to relieve him of his dilemma. So it was with Pilate. He knew after he had questioned our Lord that he was guiltless, and that he should be released. Then the thought struck him that perhaps if he offered to follow an ancient custom of releasing a prisoner on the eve of the great Jewish feast of Passover, that he could manage somehow to have them choose Christ as against a murderer, and thus he would be rid of the problem. So he mentioned the custom to the Jews, and as the alternative to Christ he chose Barabbas, a robber, a rioter, one who in the riot had committed murder. Mark 15:7. Pilate said, "Which of the two do you wish that I release to you?" And they said, "Barabbas." Pilate said to them, "What then am I to do with Jesus who is called Christ?" And they all said, "Let him be crucified." Never in the annals of human history has there been a greater example of the criminal evasion of personal responsibility. Here was Pilate, who in his heart knew that Christ was innocent of any crime, and had said so in public, but now in fact says to the mob, "You pick the victim, and I'll sentence him whether he is guilty or not." Many of us today who decry the weakness of Pilate get much the same way on many occasions. We often allow others to determine our duty. Have we not all at times said something like this? "But everyone does it," or "Everyone else in the office tells off-color stories," or "If my wife would be more religious, I'd be religious too," or "If my husband didn't drink, I wouldn't drink," and so on. Let us beg of God the grace to do what we know to be right and just, and for the grace to manfully withstand those who would even suggest our making concessions to evil because of our fear of man. The second point of this consideration is equally important. Pilate poses one of the most striking questions formulated when he asked, "What then am I to do with Jesus who is called the Christ?" A question Pilate and all of us are compelled to answer in the end. Jesus stands before each of us, as he stood before Pilate, demanding reception or rejection. The question may be postponed, but we cannot get it off our hands. Every soul must stand in judgment on Christ and give a decision. Jesus stands before each of us today, meek and lowly, asking to be received. But the scene will soon be changed for those who reject him. They will be hurried away to judgment and eternity, and the judge before whose bar we shall find ourselves will be the same one who stood so long, so patient and loving, waiting to serve us. Resolve to make a thorough examination of conscience daily on how you fulfill the duties of your state in life, and to what extent you permit others to determine your duty. Asking yourself, too, this burning question, "What have I done today with Christ?" The answer God expects us to give is, "I have loved him, I have obeyed him in all things, I have served him faithfully."